very rapidly, I saw one passing by, and the question was how much mocap was used in
None.
Arcane.
None mocap.
Zero.
None mocap. Zero mocap. No,
there we go.
we don't use mocap. We have been animating all this. It's something that's been important because we've been spending a lot of time on mechanics and things and looking at reference. So no mocap used on Arcane.
Was there any discussion about maybe using it for some, let's say, background characters or
yes. Yes, but this no. So if we're talking about main, no. If we're talking about on the background characters, so there is three parts. There is crowds, there is animation main, and there is animation extra. Extra is some background characters that are closer, that are animated hand, but for the crowds, mocap I think was used. Okay. So we have like is some suits. I think I don't know the brand. With some few captors that they use for that. Okay. But so, yes, there has been in crowds.
Yeah. So again, trying to be...
I'm not even sure, actually. Maybe they used the cycles that we did for the extras, because there's been a lot of libraries, extensive libraries that we can reuse on different characters, different things. So... But all those were created. There's been quite a gap in between at the beginning of season 1 when they rewrite it and etc. And at this moment, they did a lot of pre-production.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, Scott, you can bring those questions one after the other, so we can go through as many as we can. Thank you for much for doing this. How much time was spent on animating the body versus the facial animation?
It depends of the shot. If it's a facial shot, we spend a lot of time on both. I think the only thing I would say is mechanical shots where you see the whole body walking and turning. And I remember this shot of Victor that is coughing, is putting on his cane, and he's turning and he's going away that I had to do. And I don't remember how much long on this. And I will never put it in my reel, but it was a nightmare. So for those kind of shots, I think is where we spend the most time for no reward whatsoever, where we have shots that are much more close on the face, and then we get a lot of good stuff about it. So.
I remember there were times on Guardians where people would show shots that are just the body animated and the face kind of turned off to see if you could sell the body mechanics of the performance. Did you ever do any of those sorts of things?
No, so on Arcane, we I think it's very, very good question. It's about the workflow thing. The one thing that I do differently than I did on Guardians is we do very few poses at the beginning to get the most appealing pose that we can going in, pose to pose. And then I keep on going on pose to pose, pose to pose, pose to pose. So we always work with face and body all together, working for a whole kind of pose. It's a very 2D way of doing things at the end. However, when we show our blocking to Riot, we show it on 2s most of the time, or maybe 4s, 2s, something like this in blocking, but it's a very detailed blocking for our first pass because we've developed such a good relationship with them in animation that we know already a little bit of what Christian is looking for in terms of acting, in terms of, so we can push for blocking a little bit further, and it's really cool because of that. But I love that.
That leads perfectly into this question.
Yeah, exactly. So how much feedback would Riot give in general? Would they be very broad feedback, or it can go into minute details?
So for animation, it's going to be about the performance for the shot. But for the characters, because here I see the impact, the vibe of the characters, I think for the characters, it comes from story. So when they worked in the storyboards with Fortiche, so it's Fortiche people that worked on the boards, and they try to develop a little bit about the vibe of the characters in those, actually a lot of the vibe of the character. So when it comes to animation, we already know who is the character, how she acts, why she acts like this. And so it's more about some of the intention that might not show in boards, about things that Christian would like for us to show. But we have a launch where he explained very well what he wants on each shot. Sometimes he doesn't even go through each shot. It depends of the sequence and if it's very important, those reactions or not. And after when we show him, yeah, it's exactly about intentions. If the intention is not met, if what he's expecting the audience to see is not seen, this kind of thing, then I think it's really good, because like that, for us, we can focus on all the details of animation, making it feel connected, polished, well animated, beautiful posing. All this stuff is left to us, but the intention and those things is left to the director, which is really cool.
Awesome. All right,
it's
Scott,
very rare that you get to show the whole sequence like this. We show a whole blocking up, we show the whole final, and then we get maybe 1 or 2 tweaks, and that's it. So it works really well for us in animation.
Great.
Can we ever expect merch such as art book from Fortiche, or is there any way to support you guys directly? Is there already an art book that has been released?
No, I wish we had more of this, if I'm honest. I want to see more things for Fortiche. Right now we have things Riot. Like when we get merch from Riot, which is cool. We're still very, very happy about those. But it's still something that I would love to see is an art book with the art that's been produced, with the textures that's been shown and all this stuff.
Was there any difficulty with animating the Atlas Gauntlet in fight scene or others?
Difficulty, no, but it was a lot of things to animate on those. There's lots of little things that moves, and all these were hand animated by the animators. Even the little thing that turns, and so no, but it's actually really cool. Really cool stuff to work on and to play with when we can.
Yeah. Was there a lot of animation in pre-production to kind of find the style of even of those? No,
the gauntlets arrived, I think, when we were on the episode that was showcasing them. So we had no pre-production on the gauntlets. Yeah, but it was super cool, actually. I think we were. That's the good thing as well, is Bart has a very clear idea on how he thinks things should move or how things should, and for this it helps us go in the right direction. And even the animators that start on those shots always come up with cool ideas, and then they tailor it to what they want to see. I think it worked well. It's something that I think it's something that you want to avoid in animation, having things arrive at the last minute and having to do it but it's been working really well on this show, and I'm super impressed about that. But I think Bart really holds this show as he really knows it very, very well. And actually Bart is working on season 2, and he's doing amazing, and he's helping us a lot on all this stuff. So
awesome. Did having so long on the series help reduce crunch time?
Yes. I mean, we had a few crunch time. The problem is in Montpellier, I didn't have a lot of crunch time. I had some in Paris at some point. It's like at some point in animation, the crunch time is when we have to finish an episode so that Riot is approving it and that it can go on. I think we had enough time to make it the way that we wanted. So we never really had to do like overtime or extra hours, things like that. I think in general it was well produced.
Yeah. So because especially in animation, you have quotas, so you need a good team to make sure that you're able. So good preparation, good team, you can hit those quotas, so you don't have to do all this extra work afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. But here the leads were doing a lot of that with their team, trying to manage their team. And because we have a lot of sequences, that are starting, we can start on different sequences at the same time, which allows us as well to be more flexible in how we deliver things. To me, one thing that, when you're an animator and you have to show your shot every 2 days in dailies to the same director again and again, it's counterproductive. When you have this whole sequence that everybody works on and we all finish the blocking approximately at the same time, but if a few animators are done, you can put them onto something else in the meantime that we show the blocking, then it makes things much more productive. So I think that's a very good thing. But being able to have full sequence that are completely approved and that are not going to change is also required by having a good story ahead, having a good boards that are just locked and all this stuff.
Which it sounds like you primarily worked with sequence teams as opposed to character teams.
Yeah, completely. There was no character teams. It was more about, it was all sequence based. But we had people doing libraries for certain characters, and so that now we're all on models, always the same.
Cool.
We had the time to develop that because of the length of the show, for sure.
Yeah. From storyboard to layout to final shot, how many passes does a sequence go through to create visual flow and tracking on screen?
A lot, for sure. So that I actually, I don't know exactly. You mean like through Riot or through Fortiche, or because yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's say for animation, between the animatic to final animation going through, layout and blocking and all that, usually how many passes on average would be presented?
For an animator, let's say on Arcane, so he would show his shot to his lead once, then his lead might give him some notes. Then if the lead and him are happy, they will show it to the head of animation, which was Bart. If Bart gives him maybe a note, then they would show it to, after, if Bart says it's okay, we would show it to the showrunner. Most of the time he wouldn't have a note, so then you would go back, spline your shot, maybe show it one more time to your lead. He gave you a note or two, show it to Bart a second time for the final spline polish, and then going for final in front of Christian. If he has a note, you send it back one more time, but usually doesn't. So, but that's the process. But if you think of processes in other places, it can go on and on like this, because here when we block it, it's approved by your supervisor and your head of animation, which is the case in all studios. So to be able to go through director, you have to do that no matter what. So this is the general same thing. But then after, because of Christian and the thing that we did, it was very, very easy. Again, like two times in dailies, which is something that it's not that often,
Yeah. Did all animators act out their own ref, or did you get some actors in as well? Some of the walks or movement are so distinct and super cool.
So yes, we did all our own ref. Some animators are very good at doing that. And I also think in terms of attitude and movements, I'm going to, again, give a kudos to Bart, who... small things, but there is something on this show where characters tend to look more like this than usual. Is like that. It's actually a little bit more angled, even in the posing and stuff. It's always trying to find something about it that is distinct, but doesn't feel, because super cool could be as well, this or something like that. But it's always about more raw, crude, and a bit down, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
it's coming from that.
Did you have some animators that were not comfortable to shoot their own ref, so you had other animators shoot it for them?
Yeah, for sure. We always, it's something that I think is very important for all animators to, if they're not comfortable, they should try it and then ask others to do it, but they should keep on trying. I wasn't doing, like, I remember doing my ref on Dragon 1, or they were horrible, and I would always ask others to do it for me. I think I never did a ref at, I did some ref at DreamWorks, but very late in my career. And here I'm just doing some ref on all my shots, no matter what is the character, and it's becoming something very, very much easier.
Yeah. What's the most challenging shot you have to work on? Sorry.
First, A says, I never met you, but I'm very happy for that question. And second, I'm using
I didn't notice. It's Siski.
Siski said, okay. And I've seen your, I always use your demo reel from my Animate for my students to show them about context and subtext. I think those are amazing. because of the fact that there's always something that the character is saying is in his relationship with where he is and what he's doing, which makes the shot much more organic and interesting to look at. So I'm always using your Animate reel for that anyway, and to show as well as a result of very good things. Anyway, what's the most challenging shot you have worked on? You mean on if it's on Arcane, it was the Victor shot turning and going away, which is not something that I'm super proud of or that I want necessarily to show. But I would say in the whole career, I think it was a shot of Stoic turning and yelling at Hiccup that I think I spent 3 months or something like that on, that I redid and redid. The ref was not very good, and I used it and they didn't like it. But anyway.
Was that in Dragons 1 or 2?
1, yeah, on the 1, yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any specific book resources you use for inspiration for a certain aspect of the show, color, environments, characters? So it comes back to influence for the show.
So for the show, the problem is it's not my influence on the color, environments, and stuff. What I would say is they use steampunk and Art Deco as a bit of their different style for the two worlds. But even this has been more detailed than that. What I think for animators is a very good resource website is called Living Lines Library. It's a bit old school. It's all 2D animation, but there is a lot of pre-production on there where you have a lot of model sheets. And I think it's super important, maybe not as much on Arcane, but in general, to look at model sheets in terms of appeal or how to draw shape, just to get simplification in shapes. I'm not sure about the on Arcane. It's a bit different because we're trying to keep the shapes that are graphic in the show and not resulting to maybe Disney appeal tweaks or this kind of things. But it's still something very valuable to look at. I think this the 2D drawings for inspiration and for shapes.
Awesome. Will you recruit junior animators anytime soon? Any advice for what you look for in an animator's show reel? And this is a question we have often during those streams. What are studio looking for in a show reel, especially from junior animators that might be getting out of school?
Cool. So for in terms of animation, sorry, but the whole season 2 is full. So for Arcane, I don't think there is any recruitment that's going to be done. However, I've recruited a lot of junior animators at Montpellier and even at Paris that have grown as being really amazing animator. So I think it's something that it's not because you're junior that it's going to be harder. In terms of for an animator's reel, for a reel like Fortiche, I mean, a studio like Fortiche, we want to see things that feels has weight, that feels naturalistic, and that has intentions. So anything where your character is going to go from a pose to something like this is something that we don't necessarily want to see. We rather see things like, again, like dragons or like Arcane type of sensibilities in the acting and in the movement and in the weight. It's something like this. It could be as well a bit of VFX. I think is something that we'll also like, but it's a bit of a mix of both. But whenever it's too cartoony, it's something that we try to. I mean, we're careful with because it's not the same way of animating. You have to have a certain sensibility for weight, for mechanics, this kind of things.
Yeah. You want to quickly revisit some of the things you mentioned for Sesk reel and why you show it so often?
Yes. So in terms of so an animator's reel is simple. Is mechanic shots. So let's say 2-3 mechanic shots. For mechanic shots, it could be a parkour or an action shot or something that feels kind of lively and intense, and something that has maybe a bit of characterization with a walk or something like this with a little bit of a story. And then you want to have some acting shots, like maybe let's say 3 acting shots. If you have a reel around 50, 60 seconds, if all those shots are perfect and they're all finished and polished, I think you have a perfect reel. It doesn't need to be 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. But all of these then for the shots, they need to have some context, which means that your character needs to be in a place that it makes sense for the audience when they're going to look at it. And it's going to also maybe make sense with what the character is doing. So let's say, for example, for Cest reel, it's a girl who is washing the dishes, and she's like, being a homemaker stuff is like the worst job in the world. And being a stay-at-home mom, there we go. Being a stay-at-home mom is one of the worst jobs in the world. And she's doing the dishes, and she has a pile of dishes next to her. So then you understand it's funny. It creates entertainment, which is very important for your reel. And like this, you have strong shots, and it doesn't need to be overacted. It just needs, and the fact that you do something as well when you do those shots, the fact that she does the dishes, it helps her, not having to look and be like, being a stay-at-home mom is doing in the world. She can actually do something, look at there doing this, and then it makes it much more natural and easier to animate. So do reference, think about your context, and think about the subtext, which is, how is she feeling? Well, here when she does the dishes, she's feeling a little tired, and it's like, but she's also uplifting a little bit because still it's not like the end of the world. So voilà. I think those things are important to think about when you do that.
I just want to do a quick segue, because we often have those two questions. What should I put in my show reel, and how should I handle the interview? Since you mentioned that you yourself recruited many animators, would you have any tips, again, maybe from students or junior, or of how, maybe not, how to prepare themselves for an interview?
I think for the interview, if you're already there, you're already a bit in step in the door, or I don't know how to say it, but it means like your reel is already interesting them, so you have better chances. What I would say in those is actually trying to be somebody that is wanted to work, that is interested in the project, and that is motivated without being overly too much. It's like, if you're feeling like too much this or being stressed, I think is completely fine. Everybody can be stressed in those. It's more about trying not to be either bored or too much. It's just being interested and trying to understand more about the project. And I think it's showing your love for animation, or showing your love for this kind of thing that will make you then hire more than anything else. I think that's what people are looking for, is if you're interested in the project and how you're reacting, and if you're acting normal. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but a little bit.
Act normal. Just be yourself.
Yes.
Does the work you've done so far in the show in the first season make it easier, less demanding to animate season 2?
No. No. I mean, yes. No. No. It's different. It's different challenges, because on season now we're trying to push further. We're trying to make it better. We're trying to make it more connected. It's small details that I think might not even show that much, but it's still very important for us to try to go a bit further in the details of everything. So no, we keep pushing for better acting, better mechanics, good season 2, all this. So no, it's still very demanding.
Because now there's expectation.
A follow-up question on that. I feel like, I don't remember exactly, but I feel like at DreamWorks, when they went from like Kung Fu Panda 1 to Kung Fu Panda 2, the rig would be rebuilt and remade, so you couldn't transfer the library stuff over.
That's
Are you
true.
guys reusing libraries?
Yes,
Are you
yes,
rebuilding things? Okay.
No, we're using the same. I mean, yes, we're using the same philosophy, same way of doing things. It's the same. It's not redoing everything. So libraries can be used.
Great. So that'll help.
Yeah.
For the firelights, what were the process of animating them riding the hoverboards? I.e., what reference were used?
No reference for these. A lot of those shots were Keifu as well. Not all of them, but I think some were Tom as well, Tom Guil. I'm not sure from everybody, but no, those were not necessarily used with reference. I think, no, it's just Hoverboard. So it's mainly to me on this, it feels very, I mean, I'm not going to say that, but it's super hard to animate. I'm not trying to make it less, but it's also a lot of the trajectory that you take. And then it's the green thing that's behind. After, for the shots where they fall and all this, those Keifu shots, I'm like, this is just, again, it's him. And this guy is gifted on this stuff. But yeah, those were hard. Some of them are hard, depends. But no reference were used for when they were flying, for sure.
Did you use character stories as Riot tell them as in their site in Arcane?
So for animation, no. Now for storyboard and when they build the characters, maybe, I have no idea. But for animation, what we used was the actual characters from the series as our stories. We're not going into, I mean, like, for example, I haven't played League of Legends since 10 years, and I'm not a crazy, I don't know a lot about League of Legends. However, I didn't need that to understand the characters when I arrived on Arcane and who they were and how all this made sense. Now, I think it's important for us, so I research a lot, I understand a lot about it, but it's still something that we didn't necessarily looked at in animation.
All right. Do you feel that like there's a lack of creativity for animators at all because of how fleshed out the board's animatic were? How did you balance that?
Hey, David. Is David Ann? That's fine. I think no, not at all. I'm sorry. I was thinking about it, but no, not at all. I think for us in animation, the creativity come from bringing some acting that feels as good as if an actor was doing it, so that when you watch the TV series, you're not questioning. I feel like sometimes if you look at a bit of the beginning, it could be a bit too much sometimes, depending, because we're trying to find our style, our way of emoting, etc. But no, it's actually something very cool, and we have a lot of. I think we still have freedom to come up with ideas, but we also want to work. I think the creativity will come also from the posing, from the appeal, and from all that. And I think we're not restricted. You can always come up with ideas that can be different. It's just we don't rework the angle or anything like that. But
were you often changing shot lengths based on new ideas?
I'm saying never. Yes, we do, but we reduce sometimes for impact, for fighting, things like that. We do reduce or we extend if we need to see a bit more of this or that. But in terms of acting, yeah, that happened actually not too long ago. We extended a shot for the ID to be able to read, but it's very rare. I think it doesn't happen as much as what it could in the past in previous studios.
So did the animator have to get approval on their acting reference before starting animation?
It depends where. In Montpellier, yes. So I'm asking my animators to show me their reference before they actually start their shots. But in Paris, no, they didn't work like that at all. Even though the team that I was leading in Paris, I would ask them to show me their ref before they start on their shot. The reason for me doing that is just because I like to be able to go in the right direction early on. It's just about intentions, and if I'm not getting the intention that the acting is requiring, then I want for them to reshoot. It's mainly that. I think when it's mechanics and stuff, is not as complicated. It's mainly for intentions that I like for them to show me before. But it depends on the team. Some teams, they don't work at all like this.
And were those reference shown to the director as well, or it was just for
no,
you?
Just for me, not even to the head of animation. So Bart wouldn't see the references. Maybe if you want to show him a specific one to have his opinion on it, but I've never shown a reference to Bart, or if I did, it was just to tell him that, but look, it was like this, what do you think? But usually, yeah, no, they don't require it, but I do. I just like
is there any reference that you've approved yourself and then the animators start and then it's presented to the director is like, what is this acting choice? That doesn't work at all.
No, that didn't happen, luckily. If not,
good.
But no, but now I'm happy because I used to shoot a lot more references, and now because they're doing it a lot, the guys are they're getting really good at reference. They're doing very good actors, and I think it's cool to see that. Some people from Montpellier team is getting really good at those references.
On average, how many seconds per day per animator? So animation quota, what did it look like?
1 second a day, usually for one character in screen. So we're doing 5 seconds a week. So yeah, it's like a good quota.
Yeah, which is pretty much on par with animated feature quality. So that's
I think it depends. If you think of Disney, it's half of that. If you think of DreamWorks, it's a bit more than that. So it depends of the studios. It's funny how DreamWorks quotas went higher and how the rest stayed. Not everybody, but some studios stayed the same. I think it's about cost. It's very important. Not everybody can spend that, like the 150 million that Disney spend on each movie. So,
yep. Jacob, I felt you were about to say something.
I wanted to also explain that the 1 second per day is also an average. It's not that they're expected to final 1 second each day or anything like that.
Yes, exactly.
But that leads into then, what about how was the casting process? Did you give chunks of shots at a time, or
big chunks,
one shot here or there? Big chunks.
Yeah, we give the same thing. Depends of the same time. Yeah, it depends of the team, but we would give maybe 20 days of work to one person with like 5-6 shots in a row. So it's really cool for animators, because then they have real chunks that they can show in their reels. They have also a part of the sequence that they can really, tweak and make it the same. I think it's always good to do that.
Yeah, now, having that ownership of a moment is really important.
Exactly. And this is hard in most studios. They do a shot here and there, and then but when you're able to do that, is something else as well. That's really cool.
Did you ever have to take a shot that an animator started and give it to another animator?
Well, no. I mean, maybe it have happened because of the fact that we needed to finish the sequence for the delivery date. But no, it's not something that we like. What I do is, if an animator is having a hard time, I will help him in his shot. I think I've been going in the animator shot. That has happened sometimes with them, showing them how to tweak things. And I've hired a lot of junior animators, and I think it's important, to help them and to show them. And even in actually even others, more seniors, I think it's like when I feel like the person doesn't like that or doesn't want to do that, and I wouldn't do it. It's not something it's not needed. But when I feel like it's helping them and they're okay with that, then that can happen. To show him a posing that could be different, to show him even what about if we try this or this. And I remember Pierre doing that on some of my shot on Bilby, and I think it's always something. It depends how it's done. I've also had people doing that where I was feeling like, why are you touching my shot? And some others in my career where I'm like, please do it, show me more. And I think same with people that I work with. Some are like, yes, please, more. And some are like a bit more in the no, I don't like that. So yeah, we'll try to.
Yeah, I think there has to be some level of it. The supervisor is wanting to help them grow as opposed to just make it like they want to make it.
It's true.
This is how I want it to be, so I'm going to do it, as opposed to teach you how to learn more stuff about it.
Very true on that.
Was there any character that was more or less difficult to animate?
Jinx, I think, was very difficult to animate because we never wanted to make her like Harley Quinn. Is something that we always wanted to get away from. So, but we still wanted her to be crazy, to deal with issues, and also we never wanted her to make like too girly or too. It's a very fine balance that was very hard, and appealing wise. Same thing, can be very tricky, plus the hairs that you have to animate as well. So it's a lot of work, and so this was tricky, I think. Yeah. If not, the rest is the same.
All right, a fun question for you, and I think that this one we're actually getting out of time. So thanks a lot, Alexis. I'm glad that we had the chance to go through super rapid fire with a lot of questions, because there was a lot in today's chat.
Yeah.
a fun question for you. Who is your favorite character, or which characters are your top favorites?
So I think my favorite is Silco, but it's just because he got killed. But no, I think the favorite from everybody apparently is Jinx and Vi, which makes total sense. If that's the case, my heart balances. I don't know. I love them both, so it's gonna be a tie on this one. But yeah, I like.
And Silco. What about favorite scene or moment?
I love. So there is a lot. I love the Silco and Jinx in the water. In the when he puts her in the water. I don't remember when I love that scene. I love the dinner, the last scene of the season 1. When they're all at the table there. That's the scene that I really love. I love the Civica and Vi fights. I don't know. There's a lot. I love the end of episode 3, the whole fight from beginning to the end when Powder gets onto Silco. I think all this is. I think my favorite part actually of the whole season is this big moment of end of episode 3 is just stunning.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that you get out of the show. I mean, the story, the characters that are, and there's some moment that just stays with you after you finish the episode. So to be able to craft those different moments, sometimes it's just acting, performance, and other time it's super, thrilling action. So that's that was pretty.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, exactly.
Yeah. Alexis, it was a pleasure to have you. Thanks
guys
again for accepting our invitation. Yeah,
it was awesome to see you guys. It was my pleasure.
It was long overdue. Anyone, if you arrived late for this stream, the recording is usually put in Agora.Community library afterwards, so you can go and watch the beginning. Thanks, Alexis, and let's do that again when you guys was released season 2. We'll be there for you.
Yes, thanks, Alexis. It's been great.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Bye, chat. Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye, chat. Thanks for all the great questions. Bye, everybody.